Hello, this is Wmpyr here with a video response essentially to Sifu Belida. His YouTube channel has a bunch of martial arts discussion videos, which I've enjoyed listening to because he has very reasonable responses, and B, he's very knowledgeable, and C, at the end of the day, he's giving out positive messages. So I've really enjoyed those kinds of videos that he makes. He seems like the type of person that would be fun and enjoyable to talk about martial arts with. So yeah, I asked him what his top five martial arts movies were, and he came back with a very interesting response. And so I'm gonna kind of follow similar formula. So his first category, because he actually responded back with categories more so than picking individual. Just here's my top five, rather than doing that. He gave a lot more than five. Um, so the first category was movies that you wouldn't necessarily think are martial arts movies. And, Fight Club, if you think about it, the name and the freaking subject matter, it is obviously a martial arts movie, but you wouldn't really think that, you know what I mean? Because there's so much other stuff going on in the film. But yeah, Fight Club was an obvious one to me, and it's one that I've enjoyed watching over and over, and I will continue to keep on watching it over and over again. So the next one, before I go into the next one, actually, Conan the Barbarian to me is also another one, but it's clearly a sword and sorcery film, so I'm not going to include that, even though it is to me. Another one is Rambo First Blood, but I think for many reasons, a lot of people won't consider that a martial arts film. So instead, here's one that's similar to Rambo First Blood, but it is definitely more of a martial arts flick, and it's this one right here. Uh, Soldier, starring Kurt Russell. This was really great. I really enjoyed it. It's basically he plays this super soldier in the future, and he gets replaced. He becomes obsolete, and the soldier that replaces him or actually his entire unit gets wiped out. And the soldier that replaces him is Jason Scott Lee. And that to me makes it a martial arts film because Jason Scott Lee, fresh off of doing Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, is now here. And I remember this was even featured in Black Belt magazine where they had an article about this movie. And, Jason Scott Lee brought in for the fight choreography, he wanted to do some Jeet Kune Do stuff. So it's in here. So those are the reasons, even though, like I said, on the surface, this is not a martial arts movie, and probably um, maybe stronger than this would be Hunted. But Hunted is one that I've been talking about to you guys over and over again. So I wanted to do something different. That's why I brought in Soldier. Hunted is with starring Tommy Lee Jones and Benicio del Toro, and it goes into Filipino knife fighting is what they show in there. They don't come out and say it, so that's why. And in this movie too, they don't come out and say that they're using Jeet Kune Do, but um, at least it's Jason Scott Lee. So okay, now the next category will go into classical kung fu films, right? And man, there's so much to choose from. And Sifu Belida kept talking about the Five Deadly Venoms, which is also for me, I really like that movie. But Here's another one that is very iconic is the flying guillotine. And that one, I believe it was that movie that really inspired the video game Street Fighter, or Street Fighter 2, should I say. Um, but here, was it that one or was it part two? I don't even remember. But the one that I want to bring out is not one or two. Is the fatal flying guillotine. This movie right here. Okay, um, this one is definitely not as iconic as the flying guillotine. This one is probably a lot of people found this one to be forgettable, but I liked it. I liked it for some reason. The guillotine here, as you can see, is a lot heavier. It almost looks like it could be like clubs, which in a way that would make more sense, but then it's heavier. So how is it supposed to fly? To launch something like this would be incredibly difficult. So, yeah, is it a ridiculous weapon? Yes, but if it did exist, is it amazing? I think it's one of those things that back in the day, if this is even based off of reality, which I think it was loosely, and keyword loosely based on reality, is back then in China. There were rumors about this, secret weapon, and they were like, "Well, what was this secret weapon?" And you know, they're saying it was this, just kind of like in World War II Germany. Conspiracy theory people will say that they had uh, a secret weapon, and what was that secret weapon? And some people will say that it was they were working on their atomic bomb, or other people will even say no, they were working on a UFO or whatever. So I think it was kind of like that. Back in historical times in China, there was a secret weapon. And could it be something like this? Who knows? I have no idea. But the movie is, I found it to be entertaining. I don't know if I could recommend it, but yeah, it's something that I liked. So we'll go into the next category. So this is classical kung fu films. The next one is um, more modern, like the 90s martial arts movies, martial arts action films. Because remember, in the 90s, the Hollywood kings were Jean Claude Van Damme and Steven Seagal. So instead of Arnold and Stallone, right? So here we go. There's a ton of great movies to choose from, and I always rave about Don the Dragon Wilson movies and Olivier Grunner movies. I really like those. And of course, you have Jeff Speakman, and I'm not even including the big names like of course Jean Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagal, Chuck Norris. So let me go with this one right here, Tiger Claws. This is a fun flick. Really, the fact that you have the legend Bolo Young in here as a serial killer, yeah, I mean it just suits him perfectly because he's always played an awesome villain. And for him to be this serial killer who's taking out martial arts champion in the city, he's just taking out one champion after the next and using this special technique, the tiger claw technique. So the two detectives, Cynthia Rothrock pretty much plays the same character you've seen in other martial arts action films that she's been in, where she's pretty much like this detective, right? And her partner, uh, Jalal Merhi he's also a detective, and he joins this underground kung fu school where the style that they do is tiger claws. So they assume that one of the students there, or even the instructor, is possibly the killer. So he joins this underground school, and he starts training there undercover. Very, very cool. Right there is so cool. Just that topic alone, that story right there is super cool. And it reminds me of like some of my friends in high school that were taking kung fu. and they were learning from a uh, Chinese restaurant cook, a chef. And so this is very much like you're learning in the like underground Chinatown kind of way. It's just that at where I lived, it wasn't a big enough city to have a Chinatown, but this is kind of like the closest thing to that. And the training sounded extremely intense, and they would tell me about it, and this totally reminds me of that. So, very very cool stuff. Really really like that whole idea there. And yeah, I even like the later sequels, Tiger Claws 2, Tiger Claws 3. But this one right here definitely stands out. And the music, man, the music was amazing. You could actually find a YouTube channel where not only you could see the Tiger Claws franchise, but they also have, I believe it's Jalal Merhi's company, and they posted the music to Tiger Claws. And this movie, the first one, has this very catchy theme song that they play over and over again throughout the movie, and I really like it. I found it to be very, very memorable. Anyway, so the last category is one that I kind of made up, and this is one that I would say is martial arts movie with heart. So it's definitely more like drama focused. It's definitely more like where it's there to teach you a lesson. So the most iconic would be the Karate Kid, obviously. Very heartwarming, heart wrenching kind of movie. You feel for Daniel-san being bullied and everything, and if you've ever been bullied, then you could totally relate to that. And another one is Iron and Silk. That is another one that is. It's just a beautiful movie, especially if you like kung fu stuff. And then you could even incorporate stuff like Rocky, right? All the boxing movies are generally drama focused, and if you're going to include Rocky, then you have something like Vision Quest, which is a wrestling movie, But the one that I chose is this one right here. The Circle of Iron. Now, this is one that, let me see, is the story was actually made by Bruce Lee, and it's just ironic that David Carradine is in another film that was, kind of meant for Bruce Lee, just like the Kung Fu TV series, right? That role was meant for Bruce Lee, and so anyway, let's put that aside for a second. And, I'm still glad that this movie was made, and uh, to have this where it has very interesting like philosophies uh, put into this story. Like when I looked at this cover right here, I thought it was like a sword and sorcery flick. I did. I had no idea that this was supposed to be a martial arts movie. And I had no idea that this was connected to Bruce Lee. I really didn't. And yeah, I knew as a kid watching this back in the day that this was connected to David Carradine, which I recognized from Kung Fu, the TV show, which I really liked back in the day as a kid. Um, but I didn't really my brain didn't really connect this to martial arts necessarily, just because action films had fighting in it, So I just thought it was part of that. But as an adult rewatching this, yeah, this is a 100% martial arts epic journey, like in a fantasy world where you have the main character Cord. Um, he has to enter this tournament, basically gets disqualified. He doesn't believe in his disqualification. They're like, you broke the rules, and he's like, come on, man. He's kind of has that mentality that I'm a street fighter. And so he gets disqualified from the tournament. The winner of the tournament gets the right to go through 3 trials, and if that winner is able to, you know, pass those 3 trials, then they earn the right to battle Zetan, the ultimate warrior. And yeah, you know, that concept alone is very interesting. So Cord, who is a guy that failed this tournament, he gets disqualified, and he stumbles upon the medallion in order to have the right to enter the trials. And so he becomes the person entering these trials, the 3 trials, and he's able to pass them. One of them he fails, but then he is able to make up for it, and he passes the 3 trials, and then he finally meets Zetan, and Zetan is supposed to have the knowledge, this book that contains all this wisdom and stuff. As a martial artist, you would think that it contains like the ultimate techniques and the ultimate strategies and stuff in there. So he definitely wants to take a look at it. But yeah, he, more than anything, he wants to fight Zetan. He wants to battle the guy and test himself against him. But there's a twist ending for sure, and it is so cool. But yeah, I don't want to ruin it for you guys. And I believe you might be able to find this on YouTube and watch it there. If so, I highly recommend it. So some of these movies that I talked about in this video, I don't necessarily recommend. It's just my personal. But this one, to me, is something that is worth recommending just because of the philosophies in here. But anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.